This conference will now be recorded.
So good morning everyone. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to listen me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so today we will be discussing on methods of health communication. So previous class I started it. Methods of health communication, that is individual. So individual level, that is the personal contact, is the best one, best method of health communication. So you will have interpersonal communication. You can know his feelings personally. You can interact with him. You can know his feelings very well, and you can identify what are the constraints or problems within him, and so that you can have a wonderful discussion. So yeah, they will be asking their doubts. You can clarify their doubts very easily. So it is one of the best methods. Individual is a one-to-one health communication is the best method which can be practiced, and you can do it by personal contact, maybe through home visit. You can go to their house, do the interview, conduct the interview, identify their constraints, their problems, and solve them, give them problems. So they can raise their doubts, so that you can solve each and every problem properly. And then writing letters also, personal letters. So you can write, suppose they are having any problem, so they will write a letter to you. Through letters also you can do individual contacts, individual consultations, so that you can know, you will come to know their feelings, what they are feeling about that content, and then you can give them a reply to them. So you can take any of the topics, maybe individual communication, maybe in the form of personal contact, or in the form of home visit, or in the form of personal letters, to discuss with them about their problems and the difficulties are there in following health content. So they will raise their problems and you can solve them then and there itself, and you can that they will change their behavior selected according to the relevance of situation. So I always, from the beginning, I am telling you, whatever the health communication or health education content you take, that must be the felt needs of the society. That must be the felt needs of the society. Then only people will accept that message properly, and they will try to practice it, and they will try to modify their behaviors. So a hint from the doctor may have a more lasting effect than volumes of printed words. That's what they are saying. So a message from a doctor is very important. So if you discuss with them personally, or with the through letters or through home visit, if you discuss their problems and you give your advices, then it will be better than reading a book. Suppose if they read a book also, they will get lot of doubts and nobody will be there to solve their problems. Suppose if you are here, suppose if you are with them and if you are giving advising them. All right. So if you are with them and if you are advising them properly, so they feel that they feel that you are with them and you are going to solve their problems. So that's why, so a hint from the doctor is always better than reading a lot of books and getting the information. So health educator must first create an atmosphere of friendship and allow the individual to talk as much as possible. So usually what happens when you see in the clinics or in any other interaction sessions, the communicator, he will be talking more and the audience will be speaking very less. So that should not be the case. So you have to start the discussion and give them lead so that the audience can speak more, audience can raise their doubts more, and then you address their doubts properly. So that must be the that must be the atmosphere in case of one-to-one discussion. Then they will raise a lot of problems, and you can discuss with them, debate on them, and show the solutions to them. So that's why always what you have to do is give the audience maximum chance so that they can speak properly, they can come out with their problems properly so that we can solve them. So the biggest advantage of this approach is we can discuss, argue, and persuade the individual to change his behavior. So the main advantage of this individual method is that what we can do is you can discuss one-to-one, debate on that, argue, and then finally you can change or you can modify the behavior of the individuals. That is the main advantage of this individual communication. So what are the what are the limitations of this individual communication? Is that small number of people can be educated. It is not that you can give it to the mass people. It is not possible to reach each and every individual, because our country is a hugely populated one. It is not possible to communicate with each and every individual so that you can spread the message. So it takes a lot of time, lot of resources are needed for communicating to each and every individual. So that's why its limitation is that you can reach only small group of people. Only small number of people can be educated at one time. So education is only given only to those who come in contact with us. That is the main problem. So those people who are interested, those people who are having the sources, they will come forward. They only receive your message. So that is the main drawback. So our intention is we want to send the message to as many number of people as possible. But the thing is that in case of individual approach, you can reach only small group of audience. Only small group of audience. This individual approach is possible, but it is the best method. But possibility wise, so there are limitations. Possibility wise, there are limitations. You cannot reach each and every individual so that your health education reach masses. So it is not possible in case of individual approach. Then you will come to second method is the group approach, that is called as chalk and talk method. So it is an effective way of educating the community. The chance of the subject must be related directly to the interest of the group. So here you can take large group of people, and whatever the health education content you take, that must be the interest of the audience. That is not by your interest. It should be the relevant to the situation, and it should be the felt needs of the audience. Then only be interested, the audience will be interested, and they will come to your discussion. Talk is the best one, so that you can approach a maximum number of people. Example, you can take school children. So for all the school children, so the best one is the hygiene. It may be oral hygiene or personal hygiene. So if you explain them for all the school children about the oral hygiene or the personal hygiene, so definitely the students, school children are interested on that particular topic. Definitely they will try to listen, and they will try to modify their behavior. So chalk and talk is the best method when you are having a large group of people. If you are approaching a school children and large groups are there, then automatically chalk and talk is the best method. It may be, and the topic must be interest of the audience. For the audience, the topic must be interested. It may be, you take for example school children, you can take on the personal hygiene or the oral hygiene. And for industrial workers, you can say accidents, industrial accidents, how to prevent them, how to protect themselves from the accidents, and what are the personal protective equipment they have to use in the industries. Yeah, so on those topics, if you give them health education, definitely this industrial workers, industrial diseases, that is occupational diseases, occupational cancers, occupational accidents, so personal protective equipment used in industries. If your topics are like that, definitely the industrial workers are interested. They will come forward, they will participate in your discussion, and they will try to modify their behavior. That is chalk and talk. So chalk and talk is the lecture method, carefully prepared oral presentation of facts, organized thoughts and ideas by a qualified person. So in case of chalk and talk, what happens is that a qualified person will prepare the topic based on his experiences, based on his literature, based on experiences, prepare the lecture, and he will try to explain it to all the audience. It has very important place in small group discussion. Its effectiveness depends on the speaker's ability to write legibly. Topic should be of current interest. Group should not be more than 30. Talk should not exceed 15 to 20 minutes. This method can be made more effectively by flip charts, panel graph, exhibits, films, and charts. So in case of group discussion, it is better to have a group of 20 to 30 people at one time, so that the audience will get the chance to discuss with you, and the whatever topic you are prepared. So you should not write each and everything on the board. You should not write each and everything. The most important point that's written on the board, it must be that is repeated. So the reward, Stop your disturbance. So topic should be of current interest. So current interest topic must be taken, and it should be, you have to take the topic for only 15 to 20 minutes, so that the students or the audience will be interested, so that they can keep their brains, so that they can be attentive, apply their brains properly, and try to modify their behavior. So group should not be more than 30 members, and the discussion must be only for 15 to 20 minutes. You have to take the topic, and after that you have to discuss with the audience. So this method can be made more effective by flip charts. You can use flip charts, panel graphs, exhibits, films and charts. So whatever possibility is there, you can take the charts and explain them, and you can prepare films on that. You can show to them, or exhibits you can show to them and explain, so that they can understand it properly. So what are the disadvantages of this chalk and talk? So there are advantages for each and every method. There are advantages and disadvantages. If you take the chalk and talk method, the disadvantages are students are involved to a minimum extent. So we are asking only 20 to 30 students to be involved, so that the communication must be effective. So for effective communication, we are taking very less number of people. That is only 30 students per batch, and we are discussing with them. So only you can send the message to only limited group of people. And learning is passive. So what is happening in chalk and talk is that the communicator is going on explaining the things to the audience. It is not that he is not taking any discussion from the audience. Sometimes he may take, and majority of the times he is not interested to communicate with the audience. So audience may be having a lot of doubts. They don't express their doubts. As a result of that, the discussion will not be fruitful. So that is the most important. It is the learning is very passive. Don't stimulate thinking or problem solving capacity. So I am straight away giving the lecture. I am not discussing anything. So it is not going to stimulate your thinking or the problem solving capacity of the audience. Comprehension of a lecture varies with the student. I am saying comprehension means the level of understanding of each and every student. So one student, if I say one time, he will catch up and he will remember it forever. Whereas some students will be there after repeatedly saying, even then they will not understand. So for them, what we have to do is we have to give the homework, so that they will learn, they will write, and then they can understand something. So comprehension level of the students must be identified before taking the chalk and talk. So comprehension is level of understanding of the students. That is most important. That is most important for each and every lecture. And next coming to demonstration. So demonstration is very important. So carefully prepared presentation to show how to perform a skill or procedure. So in front of the audience, you are performing a skill or a procedure. Suppose I say disinfection of how to perform disinfection of a well, or how to prepare oral rehydration solution. So you are preparing that. You are showing the skills, or you are showing the procedure of making oral rehydration solution in front of the audience. So your demonstration should be very perfect, very ideal, very perfect, so that the audience can learn it properly, right? So demonstrate and involve the audience in discussion. So while performing the demonstration, you have to involve the audience, so they can raise number of questions. You have to answer them. You have to show them how much water you have to take, how much salt you have to take, how much sugar you have to take, and how to mix them. How to mix them for preparing 1 liter of water, how much sugar is needed, how much salt is needed, how to mix them, and how much within how much time they have to consume that. So all this, and what are the personal measures, personal hygienic measures they have to take while preparing this. All those things you have to explain them clearly, so that they can understand properly, they can see your demonstration properly. If at all they are having any doubts, they will raise the doubts in front of you, and you have to solve them. You have to show them each and every step properly with proper hygienic method. Then they will follow it, and they will try to perform. So demonstration creates interest, persuades the onlookers to adopt practices. So the important thing is that when you are performing, or when you are demonstrating certain skills, the audience will have a sort of interest. It will create a sort of interest. What he is doing with water, with salt, and with sugar, what is going to prepare, and what are the uses of it, what are the uses of oral rehydration solution, how in what ways they can be used. So what are the benefits of it, what are the benefits to the child, so when he consumes this oral rehydration solution. So all these things you have to explain them properly. All these things you have to explain them properly. It creates a sort of interest among the audience. So once the interest is created, they will follow your step by step. So whatever you are demonstrating, every step they will follow very carefully, and they will try to learn it properly, and it upholds principles of seeing is believing and learning by doing. So we are having the Chinese one, that is seeing is believing. So if you see that, they will believe it, and if they do that, if they do that, definitely they will learn it and they will practice it. So that's why it upholds principles of seeing is believing and learning by doing. So if they see, they believe, and if they learn, they will do it definitely. So that's what, that is demonstration is a very key role. Demonstration is a very key role. So when you are performing any demonstration in front of the audience, you have to be very careful, and each and every step you have to perform perfectly. Every skill you have to exhibit very clearly, so that the audience can understand them, identify the each and every step, and they have to perform by themselves clearly. It has immense value in environmental sanitation, mother and child health. So demonstrations place mother and child health. So you can explain them about the breastfeeding practices. So position of the breastfeeding. So what should be the position of the baby, position of the mother, what to do if there is any problem. So breastfeeding advantages, types of breastfeeding, and everything you can explain, or you can see the antenatal checkups, or hygiene, personal hygiene, and then environmental sanitation. So anything, so you can perform, you can demonstrate all these procedures very nicely in front of the audience, so that it will create interest among the audience. They will try to practice it properly. Then coming to group discussion. Next one is the group discussion. So a group is an aggregation of people interacting in face-to-face situation. So here what happens, group discussion means all the people will be sitting in a circle manner, so that face-to-face interaction will be there. So if they are sitting in a circle manner, then definitely each and every individual face-to-face interaction. It permits the individual to learn by freely exchanging the knowledge and ideas. A lot of people are sitting in a group manner, and face-to-face interaction is there, so that each individual can give their opinion freely. So without any hesitation, each individual must come out, and they must know the topic beforehand, and they are prepared, and they have to give their opinions. They have to give their opinions about that particular. Suppose if they are talking on breastfeeding, so whatever the knowledge they are having, they have to share the knowledge with others. So others also, whatever the ideas they are having, whatever the knowledge they are having, they have to come out. Their long-term compliance is involved. Example, cessation of smoking approach is valuable. So suppose the long-term compliance is there. Suppose cessation of smoking. So for stopping the smoking, it will take a lot of time. What are the steps to follow? In that, what are the steps if they are taking up cessation of smoking, education content, they are discussing on that, and what are the steps they have to follow from each individual cessation of smoking. You can take their opinions, ideas, or their knowledge. They can share their knowledge properly or thoroughly with each and everyone, so that you can guideline each and every point. So whatever the individual has said, you have to write down and make it a guideline. So it will be very useful for long-term plans. It is very good one. It will give a lot of fruitful. It is a fruitful exercise. It will give a lot of information. You can bring out some guidelines for cessation of smoking or breastfeeding practices or any local problem, whatever the health you take. So group discussion will have definitely very good outcome. So for effective group discussion, what you have to do, group should be 6 to 12 members. So what they are saying is, if you want to bring out a good solution for a problem, it is better you take the group discussion, and the group must contain only 6 to 12 members, not more than that. So if 6 and more members are there, 6 to 12 members are there, so then each and everyone will get the chance to talk about it, chance to talk on that particular content, and give their opinion or share their knowledge properly, and they can discuss openly, freely. There should be a group leader, and among the 6 members, one should be the group leader, and the recorder will be there. He will be writing each and every point said by each and every individual. and every individual must follow the rules and regulations. It is based on the ideas of all the members. So whatever the outcome you'll get, or whatever the outcome you prepare from the group discussion, that should be the ideas of all the members. It is not the individual member. If your individual member gives all the ideas, it is not the good one. Because it is a group discussion, everybody must be given an equal importance, equal chance to discuss, to talk about that content, and they have to share their knowledge, they have to give their ideas, give their opinions, properly, and those all these opinions or ideas or knowledge will be recorded by a recorder will be there, and he will be recording each and every point, and everybody must follow the guidelines, rules and regulations, and the outcome is based on ideas of all the people, all the members. So group acceptancy has a binding effect on the individual members to translate their acceptancy into action. So once everyone has given their opinions, now it will become, now they are based on that, they are going to frame certain guidelines, and the guidelines must be translated into action. So whatever the guidelines they have prepared, that guidelines must be translated. That guidelines must be converted into action. So they have to perform all the actions which they have accepted. So that is the effectiveness of group discussion. Then coming to panel discussion. So in panel discussion, what happens? 4 to 8 persons who are qualified to talk about the topic sit and discuss a given problem in front of the audience. So in panel discussion, what happens is, suppose if your discussion is on obesity, so one nutritionist will be there, public health person will be there, general medicine person will be there, right? And then then one general public will be there, one person from educated person will be there. So 4 people who are qualified, so they will be giving their opinions, on obesity. So public health person will discuss about the aspect of the prevention, public health aspects, general medicine about the risk factors and the metabolism, what is happening and everything, and nutritionist about the diet and everything, and the general person about his opinions. So every individual will give his opinion or share his knowledge, discuss about the content of the topic properly in case of panel discussion, and discuss a given problem in front of the audience. So audience will be there, in front of the audience the problem will be discussed. After the main aspects of the subject explored by the speakers, audience are invited to take part. So when you discuss about the importance about a single topic about obesity in front of the audience, first the panel experts will give their opinions on obesity. After that, the audience will be given chance to raise their questions to any one of the panel member. They may ask to the nutritionist, they may ask to the general person, they may ask to the public health personality, or they may ask to the general physician. So the audience will be given a chance, so that they have whatever doubts they are having, whatever doubts or what are the problems they are having to understand, so they can ask to the panel members, and the panel members will solve their doubts. So that is panel discussion. So panel discussion, what happens? 4 to 8 persons will be there who are qualified, who are experts in that particular subject. So initially they will give their opinions, they will discuss their opinions in front of the audience. So after the discussion is over, the audience will be given chance to discuss, to ask any question, to ask any doubt to any of the experts, so that the experts can clarify their doubts properly. So that is called as panel discussion. Next is coming to symposium. So what is this symposium? So symposium is nothing but a series of speeches on selected subjects. A series of speeches on selected subjects. Suppose if you take HIV, so you can involve community medicine people, biochemistry people, and then biochemistry will discuss about the diagnosis, pathologist will give his opinion, general medicine will give his the clinical signs and symptoms and diagnosis, clinical features and diagnosis. So everyone, community medicine person will talk about the preventive aspect of HIV, diagnostic part by biochemistry people, and then microbiology and pathology they will give their speech, and then general medicine person, he will be discussing on clinical signs and symptoms, diagnosis, treatment aspect of HIV, so everything. So symposium is a series of speeches on a selected topic. You take one topic, on that you give a series of speeches pertaining to that particular topic. That is called as symposium. So in symposium, what happens? There is no discussion among the symposium members like in panel discussion. So the difference between panel discussion and the symposium is that in symposium, speeches will be there by each and every person on a particular topic, and the audience cannot interact with the person who is giving the speech. Whereas in case of panel discussion, after the discussion is over, the audience are allowed to discuss with the panel members. If the audience are having any doubts or any problems, so they can straight away ask to any of the panel members. They can straight away ask any of the panel members about their doubts, and they can clarify their doubts from the panel member. That is the panel discussion. Whereas in case of symposium, it will be a series of speeches will be there. So public health person on preventive aspect, general medicine person on clinical science and symptoms and diagnosis and management, biochemistry about the diagnosis, biochemistry and microbiology about the diagnosis part, or the investigation part they will take up, investigation part they will speak. So they will give the speech and go away. So there is no interaction between the audience and the speech and the person who is giving the speech in case of symposium. So only the difference is that in case of symposium, there is no discussion between the audience and the person who is giving the speech in symposium. Audience in the end can raise questions, so they can raise questions and anybody can answer them. Chairman makes a comprehensive summary at the end. So among the symposium members, one person will be there as a chairman, and he is going to give the brief of all the speeches at the end of the session. So at the end of the session, what happens? All the speeches he will summarize. All the speeches he will summarize into a broad aspect, and he will give the comprehensive summary at the end of the session. And then next is the workshop. So what is this workshop? It is a novel experiment. It is nothing but a new experiment. It is called as workshop. Consists of series of meeting, 4 or more, with emphasis on individual work within the group with the help of consultants. So what happens? Suppose if you see, what happens there? Workshop is a novel experiment. So groups will be there. That is 4 or 5 groups will be there. 4 or 5 groups will be there. So if you see, so we have done a workshop on rabies prevention and control in India. Rabies prevention and control in India. So what they will do is they will frame the guidelines. They will frame the guidelines for treatment, for pre-exposure prophylaxis and post-exposure prophylaxis, and what everything, post-exposure prophylaxis and everything, they will frame the guidelines for rabies. So what they have done is they have called veterinary doctors, microbiologists, pathologists, public health person, general medicine person. So each group consists of 5 members. Each group consists of 5 members, and each and every group will be given one task. Each and every group will be given one task. Maybe one group may be given about the preventive measures, how to protect the individuals from the dog bite, and second group will be given about the post-exposure prophylaxis. How many injections they have to take after exposure to a dog bite, and another group will be given other content. Other group will be given other content. So among that, so in each and every group there will be. So each group consists of one veterinary doctor, one public health person, one general medicine person, microbiologist, pathologist will be there. So all five will sit in one group. So like that there will be 4 or 5 groups. So every group will be given one component, maybe prevention component for one group, vaccination component for one group, or any other major complications for one group, or you can say pathological changes for one group, investigations for one group. Like that they will give each component to a single group, and they will discuss. All these group members will discuss on that, and they will frame the guidelines. And all these guidelines from all the 5 groups will be taken up, and they will frame the guidelines on that. That is called as workshop. So novel, it is a novel experiment. It is a new experiment where you can frame the guidelines for each and every disease. So learning takes place in a friendly, happy and democratic atmosphere under expert guidance. So in case of workshop, what happens? Learning will take place under the experts. So experts are giving their opinion. It contributes to improvement of individual performance. Definitely, if you are working with the experts, your performance will improve, your performance will increase, or your skills will improve. So that is the importance of workshop. Next one is role playing. Next one is role playing. So unique technique, useful technique to use in providing discussion of problems of human relationships. Useful especially for school children. It is followed by discussion of the problem. So you identify the problem. So role play you can do anywhere. It may be in the schools or it may be in the villages. You identify one problem. Maybe you can take the spread of corona and how it spreads to you, from one person to another person, from one person to the family members to the society. So how the society will get affected with this corona spread. So you can take up that problem. So you can organize a role play on that, and you can play that in a community or in a village, so that people will attend. So people will attend and see your role play, and they will come to know that the spread of the disease of this corona. And finally you give a chance to the audience so that they can raise their questions, whatever doubts they are having. Whatever doubts they are having, they can ask you, and you can discuss on that. You can clarify their doubts. This is also one of the most important method, role playing. So you can take up any problem. Maybe suppose if you are doing in a school, take up about the personal hygiene. If you don't follow personal hygiene, so what are the health problems you are going to get and how to overcome them. So you explain them in the form of a role play. Suppose at the end of the session, you give chance to the audience, let them ask some questions, you clarify their doubts. So definitely it will have an imprint in their minds. Definitely they will try to modify their behavior. They will try to follow whatever the hygienic practices you have shown in your role play. They will try to follow. So definitely this role play will bring some behavior change modification in the lifestyles of the people. Then coming to conferences and seminars. So what are these conferences and seminars? So what are these conferences and seminars? It is a large component of commercialized continuing education. So conferences, definitely we need it, because what is the latest updates and what the research is going on around us, and what are the latest updates and what are the recent researches going on, and who are the experts in entire India, you can come to know. So for that, conferences are very important. It is a large scale component of commercialized continuing education. So day to day, what are the new aspects of medical education, or new treatment guidelines, or new drugs which are coming into the society? You must know them. So conferences are needed. It ranges from half day to 1 week in duration. It may be from half day. Suppose if it is a seminar, only half day will be there. Suppose if it is a conference, 3 to 4 days will be there. They may cover a single topic in depth or broadly comprehensive one. So sometimes what happens, for seminar they may take up one topic, and on that topic they will give the seminar. Whereas for conference they may take up a broad aspect, and from that broad content they may take up the most important as their theme, most important components as their theme, and they will try to expose the new things on that, so that people who are attending that conference can know the new things, can enhance their knowledge, can improve their knowledge, improve their skills. So conferences are very needed. Conferences are very needed in this competitive world to improve your knowledge levels as well as skills in the developing medical field. Then coming to mass approach. So mass approach, there are different methods are there. You know each and everything. Television. So through television you can approach millions of people. At one click you can approach millions of people. So you can give your health education through television, so that it will reach to the mass audience, to the mass group of audience very easily. You can reach the millions. Radio, through internet, newspapers, printed material, you can distribute this material to as many number of people as possible. And then direct mailing. So through mails also you can send your health education information into the society. It may be through posters, billboards and signboards, health museums and exhibitions. So you can put health museums and exhibitions. So our college also will conduct health museums every year, so that all the school people will come and look after the health museum and come to know about the different aspects of the medicine. And folk media. So through folk media also, so through folk dance or folk media, you can send the information, health education information to the society. So there are different approaches are there. So There are different mass approach methods are there. There are television, radio, internet, newspaper, printed material, direct mailing, posters, billboards and signboards, health museums and exhibitions, folk media. These are all the mass media which you can use for sending the health information into the society. So planning and management of health education. So how you are going to plan and manage the health education? First one is collecting information on specific problems as seen by the community. So whatever I told you, whenever you want to send any health information into the society, first of all try to understand what are the health needs of the society or the felt health needs of the society. You must understand properly. First of all, you must understand the felt health needs of the society. Based on that, you try to make out the health education material or health education information. Then identification of the problem, identification of the health problem in the particular society is very important. First identify the problem and then deciding on priorities. Suppose if you identify 10 problems, 10 health problems in a particular society, so you are not in a position to give information on all the 10 ones. So among the 10, which one among the 10 the most priority must be given to the most important one, which the people are right now facing the problem. Suppose if I tell now in this scenario, the spread of corona is the important one, the important problem. That is the priority. If I explain them about the breast cancer now, nobody is interested. If I explain about the non-communicable diseases right now, nobody is interested. So right now the interest is about corona, its spread, how to prevent it. If you explain this sort of, if you take up this topic and send the information into the society, definitely people will accept it, because right now the entire world is facing the problem with corona, its spread, and everybody is interested about its prevention, vaccine and the treatment methods. Everyone is interested. So right now if you take up about the corona, its prevention, treatment, management and immunization, everything, definitely everybody will be interested and they will listen to you. They will try to modify their behaviors. Suppose right now if you take up about the vector-borne diseases are also important. Vector-borne diseases in this rainy season, they are also important. But if you give more importance to that, nobody is interested, because everybody is interested right now in corona. So first priority must be given to prevention and control of corona. Next priority must be given to the vector-borne diseases. Next priority, along with that corona spread only, you have to discuss prevention and control of corona. Along with that, you have to discuss about the vector-borne diseases. Then only people will come forward and participate in your health education sessions. So deciding on priorities. What is the priority right now? I am having 10 problems. Among that, corona is there, vector-borne diseases are there, non-communicable diseases are there, personal hygienic practices are very poor, breastfeeding practices are very poor, and malnutrition is there. So many problems, health problems are there in the society. So if you identify all these problems, among the 10 problems, which one must be given priority first, which one is second, which one is third, like that you have to organize the problems, you have to prioritize the problems. So after identifying, give importance. Right now it is a rainy season. Number one is corona is there throughout the world, so everybody is interested in that. So prevention and control of corona must be given first priority. Second priority must be given vector-borne diseases, prevention and control of vector-borne diseases. Like that you prioritize. Your health problems. So based on that you try to identify, setting goals and measurable objectives. So you identify the problem, and for that you prepare the goals, and you identify the objectives to achieve your goals, and then assessment of resources. So what are the resources you are having? What is the manpower? How much is the manpower, money and material? How much is there? And what is the time? How much time it is needed? So whether it is acceptable to the people, whether I can reach my goal or not, people can accept it properly, whether the objectives can be achievable or not. You try to analyze it. And what are the resources you are having? With the resources, whether you are able to achieve your goal or not. So think over it and frame your objectives and apply your resources on that, on your objective, so that you can achieve your goal. So consideration of possible solutions. So what are the possible solutions I can get? Preparation of a plan of action, that is what will be done, when, by whom. So these are how to prepare a plan of action. So that is most important. That is what will be done. So what can be done for this problem? When I have to intervene, and by whom it can be done, and then you have to implement the plan in the society, right? Monitoring and evaluation. You have to monitor whether the things are whatever whether the plan is going accordingly or not. Is there any deviation from the plan? So you have to identify, you have to monitor, and you have to evaluate the plan and reassessment of the process of planning. Suppose if it is going in a negative direction, you have to modify your plan. That's why what you have to do is monitoring is very important. Day-to-day activities you have to monitor and see that whether your objectives are achieved or not, whether you are reaching your goal is not. That is most important. So this is planning and management of health education. And what are the limitations? What are the limitations? So some members will be shy and reserved. So some people will be very shy and they don't involve in plan preparation. They don't give out their opinions. They don't tell their problems, or they don't tell their constraints. So that is one of the important one. Some may dominate the discussion. The thing is that some people are very they want to show that they are having more subject or more knowledge persons, and they will try to dominate each and every individual. That is very wrong. That is totally wrong. Whenever you get chance, if you are having knowledge, you show when you get the chance. But don't interfere with others when they are discussing or when they are raising something, right? Don't show your knowledge when somebody is speaking. Some may deviate from the subject. So what happens is majority of the times they will start with the subject. After some time they will go to another subject. So it's just waste of time. So that should not be there. And then models of health education. Models of health education. You can say you can take a medical model. Primarily interested in the recognition and treatment of disease and technological advances to facilitate the process. Emphasis was on dissemination of health information based on scientific facts. So this medical model is always based on the health information based on scientific facts. So whatever, so I told you ours is the evidence-based medicine. Several times in our discussion I told you that ours allopathy is a evidence-based medicine. So whatever we get, whatever information is there, or whatever treatment we are giving, or whatever diagnosis we are doing, everything is evidence-based. So our health information is based on scientific facts. The assumption was that people would act on the information supplied by the health professionals to improve their health. In this model, social, cultural, and psychological factors were ignored. What is happening is, what we are thinking is, just you go to the community and tell them about the breastfeeding practices, people will follow it blindly. That's what we thought initially. So what is happening? The people are not changing their behaviors because of so many social factors, psychological factors, cultural factors. What we are saying is colostrum is very good for the health of the child. So whatever the first milk comes, you just give it to the baby, so that if the baby consumes, it acts like a vaccine, and it is very good for the growth of the baby, and it protects the baby from so many infections. That's what we are giving. But still what is happening is, because of the social factors, though we have imposed knowledge in the society about the colostrum, its importance, people know it, but because of the social, cultural, and psychosocial factors, people are ignoring it. People are not following. So in majority of the societies, rural areas, what they are doing is, they are thinking that colostrum is very bad for the baby. That's why what they are doing is, they are removing that colostrum. Whenever they get the white milk, they are starting the breast milk. They are starting the breast milk to the baby. So what they say is, it is very bad to the health of the baby. That's why we are doing. Even my grandmother did like that. My mother did like that. Our generations are doing. It is there in our culture. Like that, people are saying. There are a lot of stories are there. Social factors are there. Instead of stories, I can say social factors are there in the society. What they say is, it is bad for the health of the baby. That's why we are removing it. Whenever the white milk comes, we are going to give it to the baby. So that's why, so though we impose the importance, though we explain the importance of colostrum to the entire society, they are not practicing it, because the social, cultural and psychological factors are playing a major role, in practicing the healthy practices. Then coming to motivation model. So adaptation of new behavior is not a simple act. It is a process consistent of several stages, that is awareness that will create interest, then motivation, that is evaluation and decision making, then action, that is adoption. Suppose if I explain about the physical activity, continue physical activity for 30 minutes per day, at least 5 days a week, and if I explain the benefits of that, so people will get a think over it. It will create interest among the population. People will think over it, and after what happens, they will try to evaluate whether I am doing the physical activity or not. If I don't do, so whether I will develop obesity, what are my sedentary lifestyles, what are my personal habits. So they will try to evaluate themselves. If I do this, definitely I am going to protect myself from non-communicable diseases, and I will be healthy and fit for a long time. So like that, people will try to evaluate themselves. Decision making, so they will evaluate, and after that they will say that, okay, from today onwards I will start doing physical activity. Then action. So what action means? They will try to adopt. So adoption of the health content, adoption of the health message or health content what I am giving, or health information what I have sent, or health message which I have sent into society, they will try to adopt, and they will try to modify their behavior, and they will start doing physical activity. So in motivational model, there are different stages are there, that is awareness which creates interest among the public, and then it will motivate. Once he will get the interest, automatically they will get motivated, and motivated will give motivation again will lead to evaluation and decision making, and finally action. Action is nothing but adoption of the activity, or adoption of the health content, or here health content is physical activity. So definitely they will try to adopt the physical activity, and they will try to do it every day. They will try to modify their behavior. That is the motivation model. In this model, motivation was emphasized as the main force to translate health information to the desired action. So in this model, what is happening is motivation. It is creating motivation. It is creating interest among a lot of people, and that interest is converted into action. So motivation model plays an important role in changing the behaviors of the people. The new idea or acquired behavior becomes part of his own existing values. This is called internalization. Once he modifies his behavior, that means he modifies from sedentary lifestyles to he modifies his behavior, and he do the physical activity regularly, and that part of activity will become a part of his lifestyle. So every day he will be doing for 30 minutes, he will be doing the physical activity. That adoption of lifestyle of 30 minutes of doing physical activity, that will be add up to his existing values. That is called as internalization. That means the person has totally modified and adopted this behavior as one of the values of his life, and he is going to practice it throughout the life. That is called as internalization. So there is a change in his behavior, and that behavior has become one of his values, and he is adopting that. He has modified his behavior, and he is practicing daily for 30 minutes, and it will be practiced throughout his life. That modification is known as internalization. And there is another model that is called as social intervention model. The motivation model ignored the fact that in a number of situations, it is not the individual who needs to be changed, but the social environment which shapes the behavior of the individual and the community. So it is very important that the social environment must be changed. It is not the individual. Suppose what happens, you are living in a social environment. That means you are living in a hostel where you will having number of friends will be there, your classmates will be there. So you are motivated and you want to do the physical activity regularly. You have internalized yourself and you are doing physical activity regularly 30 minutes per day. But what happens, your friends will be there. They will say, why you are wasting time for half an hour? We will go to movie, we will go to shopping. it is not going to give any protection. Anyhow, as the age goes on, you are going to get obesity, you are going to get diabetes. Your treatments are available, we can follow them. Why do you need all this physical activity? So they will try to say like that. So what is happening is, slowly you will also try to modify your behavior, and you try to move around with your social environment. So what they are saying is, it is not that individual, if you change the individual, if the social environment of that individual is not changed, the individual will come back to its normal behavior. That's why what is happening is, it is better to change the social environment. So entire social society must be changed. Entire society has to accept the message, and everybody has to do physical activity 30 minutes per day. Whatever their problems are there, so they have to do the physical activity for 30 minutes. Entire society, what they are saying is, motivation. In case of motivation model, you are motivating only the individual, and individual is changing his behavior. Over a period of time, what happens, he observes the environment, social environment, or the people in the society, and he will try to modify his behavior. He is coming back to the normal behavior. So in that scenario, what you have to do is, it is better to modify the environment, social environment, social environment. So that is most important. What happens, all the intelligents who read very well, so they all become friends, and those who want to go to movies, or those who want to enjoy the life, so that group is different. So their social environment is different, so it depends on the social environment in which you are living. Importance of group support in helping to keep decisions and actions. So group support always must be there. If you are doing a good thing, you need group support. So you must get some motivation, you must get some enthusiastic words from your friends. Then only you will be motivated, and you will perform better. So examples, vasectomy adoption will become successful if there is group support. Definitely, if in your house, if somebody undergoes vasectomy, so if he is having very good without any health problems are not there, and it is giving good results, definitely other people in your family will follow it. Other people in your family will go for vasectomy. So that's what social intervention model. So with this, I will stop here. So I think all are present. So if you have any doubts, you write down, and once you come here, we will discuss about this. Okay, thank you. So I am taking granted that all 147 all are present. So 146, 146, please answer. One 46. Okay, 97. Four.
Sir, present sir, 4.
71. Dipti.
Present, sir.
111. Triple one. Lakshmi Tulasi. Lakshmi Tulasi.
Yes, sir. Present, sir.
111 present, sir.
119. 119.
119 present, sir.
Puni Madhuri. 58 Soni Madhuri.
Present, sir. 58.
Roll number 10.
Present, sir. 10 present, sir.
Snehita 60. 60. Roll number 60 Snehita.
Present, sir. 60 present, sir.
Manikumar 113.
Sir, 97 present.
Sir, 113
Okay,
present,
okay.
sir.
Sir, 97
Manikumar.
present, sir. Sir, 97 present, sir.
Roll number 1 Sandhya.
Present, sir. 1 present, sir.
109 109.
Present, sir.
Satya 24. Roll number 24.
Present, sir. 24 present, sir.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.